Hey everyone, Dr. Flux here, and this is General Psychology. Welcome back to Module 3, where we're diving deeper into cognition. Today we're exploring a topic that sparked countless debates, shaped education systems, and even influenced career paths: intelligence. But before we jump into that, let's warm up with a quick review. In the last lecture, we defined cognition as the processes involved in acquiring, processing, and organizing information. Which of the following is not an example of cognition? A. Planning a driving route. B. Feeling sad after a loss. C. Solving a math problem. Or D. Recalling a childhood memory. If you said B, you're absolutely correct. Feeling sad is a part of affect, or feelings, emotions, not cognition. Let's try another one. Cognition includes mental shortcuts we use to simplify decision making. What are these shortcuts called? A. Schemas. B. Algorithms. C. Scripts. Or D. Heuristics. The answer here is D. Heuristics. Heuristics are like mental rules of thumb. We use them to save time and mental effort. Great work. Now remember, cognition isn't just about thinking. It's about how we use our mind to model and interact with the world. In today's lecture, we'll be trying to answer the difficult question of what is intelligence. We'll look at theories of general intelligence, multiple intelligence, and emotional intelligence. We'll wrap up by looking at comparative cognition, how we study animals and compare their cognitive patterns to ours. Then we'll review and finish up. Today, we'll explore what psychologists mean when they talk about intelligence. Along the way, we'll see how intelligence is a model, a framework we use to understand and predict behaviors in ourselves and others. Defining intelligence might seem simple at first. After all, we use the word all the time. But let me ask you this: how would you define intelligence? What does it mean to be intelligent? Take a moment to think about it. Is it about being good at math, solving problems, creativity? Keep those thoughts handy, because we'll revisit them as we go deeper. Why is defining intelligence so challenging? Part of the difficulty is that we often don't think of intelligence as a single thing. It's a model we use to explain a wide range of cognitive abilities. One psychologist might focus on reasoning and problem solving, while another might emphasize adaptability or creativity. We have to agree on what we're even studying to come up with a unified definition. One perspective on intelligence is the idea of general intelligence. What do you think connects the ability to solve a tricky math problem with remembering the plot of your favorite TV show? On the surface, these seem like very different skills, right? But psychologists have argued that there's an underlying factor, something called general intelligence, or G, that ties them together. G is the idea that there's a single overarching factor that influences our performance across a wide range of cognitive tasks. This concept was first proposed by Charles Spearman in the early 20th century. He noticed that people who did well on one type of mental task, like solving puzzles, tended to do well on others, such as understanding complex instructions. From this, he concluded that there must be a shared underlying ability influencing their success. One of the ways we try to measure G is through IQ tests, or intelligence quotient tests. These tests assess a person's cognitive abilities and compare them to others in their age group. A higher IQ score suggests a stronger general intelligence, which in theory means better problem solving, reasoning, and learning skills. But IQ tests aren't perfect. Let's break down a few of their limitations. They have cultural bias. Test questions might favor certain cultural or educational backgrounds, making it harder for people from different experiences to score well. They don't account for test anxiety. For some, the stress of being tested can lower their performance, even if they're highly capable. These tests also have a narrow scope. While IQ tests measure things like reasoning and verbal skills, they don't capture creativity, emotional intelligence, or other important abilities. While the concept of general intelligence has been influential, it's also faced significant criticism. Critics argue that intelligence might not be one unified ability, but rather a collection of distinct skills. For example, someone could excel in mathematics but struggle with interpersonal communication. Does that mean that they're less intelligent? Or maybe just intelligent in a different way? This debate sets the stage for our next topic. So far, we've talked about intelligence as a single overarching factor that influences cognitive abilities. But what if intelligence isn't one unified skill? What if it's more like a toolkit with different tools for different jobs? That's the idea behind Howard Gardner's theory of multiple intelligences. In 1983, Gardner proposed that there are distinct types of intelligence, each representing a unique way of interacting with the world. Gardner's theory includes 8 primary intelligences. Logical mathematical intelligence is the ability to reason, calculate, and think abstractly. Think of scientists, engineers, and mathematicians. Linguistic intelligence involves skill with language, whether it's writing, speaking, or understanding others. Writers, poets, and journalists often excel here. Musical intelligence includes sensitivity to sound, rhythm, and tone. Musicians and composers shine in this area. Spatial intelligence is the ability to visualize and manipulate objects in space. Architects, designers, and even chess players rely on this. Bodily kinesthetic intelligence involves coordination and physical skill. It's seen in athletes, dancers, and even surgeons. Interpersonal intelligence involves understanding and interacting effectively with others. It's great for teachers, counselors, and leaders. Intrapersonal intelligence includes self-awareness and the ability to understand one's own emotions and motivations. This is key for personal growth. Naturalistic intelligence includes recognizing patterns in nature and working well with plants, animals, or the environment. Think biologists, farmers, or conservationists. While Gardner's theory offers a more inclusive view of intelligence, it's not without its critics. Here's some of the main concerns. It includes overlapping skills. Critics argue that many of these intelligences are closely related, making it hard to separate them out. For example, is a poet's skill purely linguistic, or does it also involve intrapersonal intelligence? Some worry that if every skill or talent counts as an intelligence, the concept might lose its meaning at some point. There also isn't a lot of empirical evidence for this theory. Unlike the G factor, Gardner's theory hasn't been as rigorously tested or as widely supported in psychological research. Despite these critiques, Gardner's model highlights an important idea. Intelligence isn't a single number or score. It's a multifaceted framework that helps us understand human potential in all its diversity. While some researchers emphasize the unifying model of G, others, like Gardner, focus on the variety of ways intelligence can manifest. Take a moment to reflect. How would you design a test that evaluated multiple intelligence? How would this be different or similar to an IQ test? It can be challenging to think about standardizing methods for evaluating each different type of intelligence on this list. So far, we've explored intelligence as a model for understanding cognitive and practical abilities. But there's one type of intelligence that focuses not on what we know, but on how we connect with others: emotional intelligence. When you think about intelligence, your mind might go straight to solving problems, acing tests, or coming up with creative ideas. Where do emotions or being able to respond to someone expressing emotions fit into this? That's where emotional intelligence, sometimes referred to as EQ, comes into play. Emotional intelligence goes beyond traditional IQ. It's about understanding and managing emotions, both your own and those of others. Daniel Goleman, one of the key figures who popularized EQ, described it through 5 key dimensions. This includes self-awareness, recognizing your own emotions and understanding how they influence your thoughts and actions; self-regulation, managing your emotions effectively, staying calm under pressure, and avoiding impulsive decisions; motivation, using your emotions to drive you towards personal goals and overcome challenges; empathy, understanding and sharing the feelings of others, seeing things from their perspective; and social skills, building strong relationships, resolving conflicts, and communicating effectively. Why is EQ so important? Well, it plays a major role in our personal and professional lives. It matters in relationships. High EQ helps you navigate conflicts, build trust, and create deeper connections with others. It helps in group dynamics. EQ can assist us in navigating many different people's emotions and facilitate group action. It supports leadership. Effective leaders often have high EQ. They inspire, motivate, and manage teams by understanding and addressing emotional dynamics. It can also assist decision-making. By managing emotions, you can think more clearly under pressure and make better decisions. But is EQ enough on its own? Critics of EQ argue that while it's important, it doesn't replace cognitive intelligence. Instead, it complements IQ. Think of them as two sides of the same coin. Both are essential, but they serve different purposes. IQ might help solve a technical problem, while EQ helps you collaborate with a team to implement the solution. Let's put this into practice with a scenario. Imagine you're leading a team project, and a group member is visibly upset about a disagreement. What's an emotionally intelligent response? A. Ignore the situation and focus on the work. B. Tell them to get over it and move on. C. Ask them privately what's wrong and listen actively to their concerns. Or D. Publicly point out their behavior to keep things professional. If you chose C, you're spot on. Emotional intelligence often involves empathy and strong interpersonal skills. By addressing the issues privately and listening actively, you're showing both respect and understanding. One caveat to this, however, has to do with the fact that emotional intelligence is often culturally defined. Different cultures can define effective emotional action differently, so keep that in mind. In terms of building EQ, the good news is that EQ isn't static. It's something you can grow with practice. So here's a few ways to get you started. Practice self-awareness. Take a few moments each day to reflect on how you're feeling and why. Develop empathy. Try to see situations from other people's perspectives, even when you don't agree. Enhance social skills. Focus on active listening, clear communication, and conflict resolution. Now that we've explored how emotional intelligence shapes our human experience, let's zoom out. How does intelligence manifest in the animal kingdom? What can studying animals teach us about our own cognitive abilities? When we talk about intelligence, it's tempting to focus solely on humans. But have you ever wondered how other animals think? Comparative cognition is the study of how different species process information, solve problems, and adapt to their environments. Let's start with a foundational idea. Cognitive abilities are shaped by evolution. Different species develop the skills they need to survive in their specific environments. Think about it like this. Just as animals have physical traits suited to their habitats, their minds are also fine-tuned for the challenges that they face. Look at squirrels. These animals rely on their incredible spatial memory to remember where they've hidden their food. Wolves live in cooperative packs, and they need sophisticated social intelligence to communicate, strategize, and work together as a team. Chimpanzees also live in social groups, but they have even more complex dynamics than wolves. They need social intelligence, as well as even more complex patterns of thoughts to achieve their goals. But studying animal intelligence isn't always straightforward. One example is the story of Clever Hans, a horse who seemed to perform arithmetic by tapping his foot. At first, people thought Hans was a mathematical genius, but researchers later discovered he was picking up on subtle cues from his trainer, like changes in posture or facial expression. This teaches us an important lesson. When studying animal cognition, we must be careful to separate true cognitive abilities from learned responses to external stimuli. Studying animal intelligence isn't just fascinating, it also gives us insight into our own cognitive processes. By comparing how different species think, we can better understand the evolution of problem solving and social skills. How memory works mechanistically by looking at it in action across the animal kingdom, and we can develop a greater understanding of how adaptive cognitive patterns develop to help different species thrive in their unique environments. Finally, let's touch on an important point. Studying animal cognition raises ethical questions. This is a drawing I made of a macaque that I worked with when I was doing graduate research at NYU, named LW. The experience I had doing research with monkeys gave me a lot of insight into the many ethical issues that come from studying non-human animals. How do we ensure that they're treated humanely in experiments? And how do we avoid projecting human traits onto them when interpreting their behavior? These considerations remind us to approach the study of animal cognition with both curiosity and care. This aligns with our discussion of research ethics from the previous module. Today we've taken a deep dive into the fascinating world of intelligence, from the broad concept of G to the more nuanced theories of multiple intelligence and emotional intelligence. We've seen how psychologists model intelligence to understand human potential. And by exploring comparative cognition, we've learned how intelligence adapts to meet the needs of different species. We've discussed intelligence as a model. It's not just about solving math problems. It's a framework for understanding a range of abilities, from logic to empathy to creativity. General intelligence, or G, is a foundational concept that suggests that a single cognitive factor underlies our abilities, but it's not without its critics. Howard Gardner expanded our view of intelligence, emphasizing its diversity, from linguistic skills to bodily kinesthetic abilities. Beyond IQ, EQ, or emotional intelligence, highlights the importance of self-awareness, empathy, and social skills in navigating life. We finally discussed comparative cognition. Studying animal intelligence reveals the adaptability and evolution of cognitive abilities across species. Let's do some review before we close. Which of the following best describes emotional intelligence, or EQ? A, the ability to solve problems and think logically. B, the capacity to understand and manage emotions, both your own and others. C, an aptitude for recognizing patterns in nature. Or D, the general cognitive factor that influences all cognitive abilities. The correct answer is B. EQ is all about understanding and managing emotions, a skill that's invaluable in relationships and leadership. According to Howard Gardner's theory of multiple intelligences, which of the following is an example of bodily kinesthetic intelligence? A, writing a compelling novel. B, solving a complex math problem. C, performing a flawless dance routine. Or D, creating a detailed map from memory. If you said C, you're absolutely right. Bodily kinesthetic intelligence involves using physical skill and coordination as seen in athletes, dancers, and surgeons. Before we end, let's return to where we began. What does intelligence mean to you? Has today's lecture changed your perspective? Think about your own strengths and the unique ways you interact with the world. In our next lecture, we'll shift gears to explore how memory works, another critical piece of the cognitive puzzle. We'll look at how we store, retrieve, and sometimes even misremember information. Trust me, it's a topic you won't want to forget. Until next time, stay curious, stay resilient, and above all, live life in flux. Flux out, and we'll see you in the next lecture.